Pro wrestling never ceases to amaze me with its ability to not just sometimes get things right, but very often get things wrong. Recently, we've seen another case of this in an incident that is making its way around the internet. For those of you that have not seen it and maybe have the stomach to watch it, I'm talking about an incident that happened down in OVW wrestling, where a referee ended up taking a bump, taking a crossbody, and ended up getting severely hurt from it, so much so that he ended up seizing in the middle of the ring, and the entire thing turned into a fiasco. And we're going to talk about that as well as a few other things, because this seems to be a pattern that is happening far too often that goes unnoticed. And as somebody who spent 26 years in the business, as well as my partner here, Bradie, who's spent 126 years in the business, it would seem like, as a referee who has been in that exact spot, I might add, we're going to break this thing down a little bit for you and try to give you a point of view from somebody, not just somebody who's been in that situation and been in the ring, but clearly has a brain on their shoulders, more so than the people that were involved in that. Bradie, you've been in this position before. You've done this very spot. Kind of walk us through from a referee's point of view.
Well, I never watched it until just about 5 minutes ago before we started recording this. I had heard Jim Cornette's take on it. I had seen the internet's take. I never read the statements that were put out. We have them here in front of us, so we'll do that live. But I've been in the exact same position. I actually broke my neck. I broke a disc in my neck from the exact same maneuver. Mind you, I didn't take the hit and fall back, or took the hit on the temple and knocked myself out. What had happened, it was overshot. It was a really big dude. He, put his weight into it, and I went backwards and was going to take a bump off of the ropes. But the position I was in, I don't even know. I've never seen the footage. I've actually asked the promoter for it, and he's a piece of shit, but that's a completely different topic. And I had hit my neck in the corner right where the ropes kind of got tied together, right? So it was just a freak accident. It happened, but yeah, this was really bad. And it was bad even if I hadn't been in the same kind of position before, watching how it was handled. Like, look, accidents happen, I understand.
Mm-hmm.
Even the forearm wasn't even the problem. The problem was the second the forearm landed, the kid went down. That's when everything went wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's your opinion on it? Because I'll tell you what my opinion is. It's probably the exact same. So instead of doubling over, I'll let you take the lead here.
So here's where you see the person who hits the referee kind of check on him and then keep moving.
Barely. Yeah.
Yes. And keep moving on with the match. And then you see more people that are more interested in getting their shit in than checking on the performer, because this kind of leads to a problem that I've said has been a problem in professional wrestling for some time. A lot of people forget that the referee is actually a more integral part of the show than you would think. He's just not a body out there to like count to three, as you can clearly see. Because, okay, let's face facts. I'm going to jump around a little bit because I'm getting a little hot about this. All of you people out there getting your shit in, doing your spots, hitting the stuff that you talked about instead of checking on the guy, who the fuck was going to make the count after you went through all of your shit and pinned somebody? Not that referee, because he's laying there dying, you idiots. The show stops, in my opinion, as soon as something like that happens. And then you're going to have people out there, well, maybe he was just overselling. Cool. Let him oversell. You as a performer should be able to pick up. It's improv for a reason when you're in that ring. And you should be able to pick up that, whoa, this is way bigger, way better. Because if it is a problem, I need to address this problem. If it isn't a problem, holy fuck, is this ever going to look like the greatest fucking work in the history of professional wrestling? And you didn't clue into that because you were too busy getting in your Skydriver 452,000 in instead of doing the actual thing.
It was just a bunch of out of shape, carnies, right? And I know Al Snow runs that company, and OVW has obviously gone down in production value even before they got on Netflix, and more so since they've been on Netflix. But this screams levels of unprofessional. Like I've seen backyarders take better care of each other, right? Like when somebody's seizuring on the ground,
Mhm.
and your idea is to just grab him,
Well,
roll him, but then because his arms won't bend, you decide to kick him.
well, I think this comes to, it's more than just the performers, and this is what I was going to get at. It's more than just the performers who were in there at
Yeah,
the time. They're not in there unless they're taught a certain way. And this is where I think the problem is. And this isn't a knock on Al directly. This isn't a knock on any one person,
no,
who's been around, not Al directly, but
we'll
this
knock
is
Al when we read his statement.
100%. This is more of a knock on the system of teaching professional wrestling. Now
Yeah,
you bring because there's going to be another story that we're going to talk about in a second here that is even much more tragic than this one.
I think this
Um,
is the whole state of professional wrestling as what it is right now, from top to bottom.
100%. And this is what I'm getting at here. I think that there is a bigger issue in all of this that is going to have to be addressed with the world of professional wrestling and the way that it's being taught right now, because it's not being taught the way that it used to be taught. It's being taught now because it's a money making thing. It's being taught now in a sense that I have to keep these doors open because I have rent to pay, not because I'm passionate about this and passing it along in a barn somewhere. It really was better for the business back then, because you have a lot of people now that are getting into this for all of the wrong reasons,
Yeah, and
and
this
they're
is
not
why the
equipped.
bullying thing, like
Yes,
sexual harassment's one thing, like that's predator stuff is a completely different discussion. But bullying, which what people call bullying, but ribbing and seasoning and vetting people in the business was something that was needed. And the
hardening.
second that it was completely gone, like completely gone,
Yeah,
this is the results you're going to get. The booking in AEW, the oil baron money controlling the WWE, the shitty coaches
yeah.
from bottom up.
Well, you said that there was a statement. Al Snow wrote a statement,
Yeah,
obviously, after this, and first and foremost, let me just say that the referee, Dallas, I believe his name is,
Dallas.
is
Yeah,
is is fine. He is, he's put out a statement. Obviously, he's recovering. He's not fine, I should say, but he is recovering
CTE
from
has
this.
long term effects too, right?
1000%. And also, you got to take, he is now obviously prone to seizures
Mm-hmm.
going forward. The same way that if you get a staph infection going forward, you are prone to staph infection going forward.
You get
Ringworm,
chicken
same
pox,
kind of thing.
you're prone to shingles, right? Like this is all they're all in the family.
Yeah. So he may not be ever into a ring, and definitely not doing any kind of a spot ever again. Who knows? Now, you said you had this statement.
Yeah.
Why don't you read this statement for me, Brady?
Okay, I'm gonna do it in Al Snow's voice. Hello everyone, this is Al Snow.
No, no,
Sorry,
no.
that was RFK.
That's the RFK. Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
gonna say there's a difference.
Okay.
Al's
A little
deeper.
bit deeper. Yeah, yeah. Hello everyone, this is Al Snow. I want to speak directly to our fans and the wrestling community regarding the incident involving referee Dallas Edwards at last week's event. All right, that's the only joking I had to put on it. I
Yeah.
just felt like we were going too serious here. I had to
Yep.
lighten up a bit. Okay. Professional wrestling has always carried an inherent risk of injury for everyone who steps into the ring. On March 12th, during a live OVW television event, Dallas was involved in a planned moment of physical contact with a wrestler that resulted in him suffering a head injury. Traditionally, while an in ring injury occurs, the ref is the central point of communication, assessment, and decision making. In this preset, unpredis, oh my,
Unprecedented.
I've tried. I tried
Yep.
so hard.
Yep.
In this
Unprecedented. I'm here
unprecedented
for you.
situation, the person who could normally make the assessment was the one who needed assistance. Oh my God. That unforeseen breakdown in communication contributed to the delay in stopping the match and concluding the show. We're relieved to hear that Dallas is recovering and receiving the medical care he needs. Our thoughts are with him, and we're hoping for his continued improvement. Okay. At OVW, the health and safety of our performers and officials has always been our top priority. We are proud of the standards we maintained over the years, but we recognize that there's always room to strengthen and improve. With that in mind, we are reviewing our existing procedures and updating several out of ring and, or sorry, several of our in ring and ringside protocols to ensure we continue to meet the highest expectations to performer safety. These updates include enhanced communication systems, okay, additional referee training, and expanded ringside response measures to help ensure that a situation like this is identified and addressed as quickly as possible. We appreciate the concern and passion from our fans, and we understand that the importance of transparency during moments like this. We will continue to share updates and appropriate when we updates when appropriate. Sorry, it's so small, this writing, and we ask everyone to keep Dallas in your thoughts as he continues
Yeah.
recovery.
All
Thank.
right.
Sorry, that was
No,
long-winded.
no, yeah, you just
Yeah,
got
you're
the
right.
end of it there. Yeah, it's nice to know that everybody has access to Chat GPT.
No, that
Listen,
wasn't ChatGPT. That was he used ChatGPT. You're right. Yeah, I wish
mean,
I did, so I
I mean,
would have had bigger writing. I look like
yeah,
a Cormac McCarthy book here.
those are the right words that are supposed to be said in this situation, but quite frankly, they don't really amount to a whole heck of a lot.
No, it's all bullshit, to be honest. That's one of the worst statements I've ever read.
This isn't the first time that this spot has ever been done. This probably also isn't the first time that a referee has been injured off of this spot. We just heard it right here first and foremost from the person that I'm talking with on this goddamn show.
Yeah,
that it's happened. This is a spot that is dangerous. It's a dangerous spot. Because anytime, 9 times out of 10, most people trying to give a crossbody don't know how to give a crossbody in the first place. Let alone the person catching from the crossbody don't know how to catch from the crossbody in the first place. So when you combine these two things, you're literally adding a bad spot to this situation just for the sake of a highlight.
Mm-hmm.
Now, once that's done, you knew this spot was going to happen. Did you not say to yourself, hey, because of this spot, hey, because of the likelihood that something could go wrong, we should have something in place before that happens? Because nothing was. All you're doing now is you're responding like an insurance company. Oh, this happened, so I guess we should take care of it now so it doesn't happen again. But this has happened already. This time it just happened to happen, and everybody caught it on TV, and it made its way around the internet. Because if it didn't make its rounds around the internet, there would have been no letter. There would have been nothing.
It's the same thing like Rampage Jackson's kid. Like if that wasn't on the internet and filmed and streamed on Kick, like you would have never seen the actual footage unless it was from somebody's cell phone, and it wouldn't have been talked about. But because we got it out on the internet, that fucker went to jail.
So then let's talk about it, because if it doesn't happen on the internet, it didn't, like if there's no video proof, it didn't happen. Is that what we're saying?
Well, no, if you're a journalist and you actually do your digging, especially, okay, so let's just talk about like local community for a moment, right?
Sure.
So
yes,
we're in Ontario. Everybody that listens to this show that's a regular knows that we're from Ontario, and specifically the Toronto area, and just north of Toronto, in Ontario, there was an incident a couple of years ago that I didn't even know about until about a month ago.
Because it didn't make its way around the news until it made its way around the news.
Yes.
So back in 2000,
made a way around the news is because somebody was kind of working around the news, right?
Yeah.
So I'll let you explain exactly what this is. I'm gonna mute myself while you go long-winded, because I know it's gonna be a big one.
So back in 2022, there was an incident that happened at a school. I'm going to be very careful about how I say this, because there's lawsuits involved. And the reason that nobody knew about this is until recently is because the news story came out that there's lawsuits involved now. So what had happened back at this school is that a female trainee,
allegedly,
had sustained an injury. After said injury, she had gone to the hospital to get checked out, and then subsequently passed a couple of days later. Now, one of the things that has happened is now that this has brought forth a lawsuit against the school, and more importantly, against the trainer, who, this brings up to the picture what I wanted to talk about, and the fact that they're as high as profile as you could be as Al Snow as a trainer in OVW, and have something like this happen. The worst case scenario happened on a much lower scale, where somebody who should not, in my opinion, have ever been a trainer, where somebody on his watch could have possibly sustained the injuries on his watch and died from them.
And I just got to put a note here. So if anybody's looking into it, it's at baytoday.ca, and it was published on January 12th by Jenny Lamouth. And it's called, the headline article is City Councilor Suing Canadore Wrestling School over granddaughter's death.
Yeah.
Man, I
So
can't
the
read today.
well, keep talking for a second there, Brady, because I'm going to actually pull this up.
Yeah, I can send you the article or bring it up on the screen if you want. But yeah, the suit alleges that LaDuke Mitchell's death, which occurred on December 16th, 2022, was caused by injuries she obtained while training at Northland Wrestling NRGY Professional Wrestling Academy, located in North Bay.
So Northland Wrestling and NRGY, or as I'm sure that they refer to it, Energy Professional Wrestling Academy in North Bay, and the holding companies and Canadore College, where Lexi was a student. Okay, so the statement is claiming that the college is in breach of contract and negligence, saying that they failed to screen because apparently what is being said is that the owner, Dan Pagazzo, under the name of Dan Jarris, otherwise known as Dane Jarris back in the day. Yeah, that's right, because he was Dane Jarris, all 3'2" of them, was the teacher and the guy who owns the school there, and his partner was a teacher, apparently, um, at the college, and they were using the college theater, where this guy was the teacher, to recruit people to come and train, saying that, hey, this will really help your acting skills if you learn how to do professional wrestling.
And if that's true, because
this is what's being said in this lawsuit.
Yeah, if that's true, my God. Like, you know what it means to be a professional wrestler. It means you're obsessed with it and you have no idea why. Now, there's always, rules to be broken, and there's people that get into the industry maybe later on in life and they just become naturals. But most of the time, I'd say 95% of the business is filled with people who are obsessed with it before they even understand what obsessions are.
Mm-hmm. What they're alleging inside of this lawsuit was that she had got injured doing theatrical training at the wrestling school. She sustained significant injuries, including traumatic brain injuries, reads the statement of claim. And despite these injuries, the documents state Lexi was encouraged by Brainbridge and Pagazzo, the two guys that ran it, to continue her theatrical training. Despite the injuries, it says, to continue your theatrical training. And then she sustained another injury. This is multiple injuries. So because of their own greedy belliness, they tried to push this person beyond what they were capable of doing. Why is there no culpability, and why is it so easy then for people to just open up a wrestling school, Brady?
I don't know. It's happened many a time.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you had your involvement in the last school that you were in,
Mm-hmm.
basically, down the road and around the corner, there was a group of I guess quotations trained backyarders at best that are probably still running to this day and convincing people to give them their money. And I'm not even
Sure.
going to name their shitty little studio because they're shitty little people. But I'm completely removed from the business, so I don't know if that's still like going or not. But these pop up everywhere. I've seen them in the back of flea markets for afternoons, right? Like the very first school I ever walked into in Cambridge, Ontario, wasn't even a real school, but they had advertisements everywhere. And I went back and told a mutual friend of ours, and he goes, "Hey, Eric Young's got a school there." And I'm like, "Who's Eric Young?" Because before, at this point, Eric wasn't on, like, Jer wasn't on TV. So I ended up getting hooked up with them and ended up coming up with probably one of the better groups of guys that I could have ever dreamed of. But that came from almost making a massive mistake by going into one of these mud show spots. And those spots popped up back during the Attitude Era, because we're seeing very similar things happening in mainstream wrestling that happened in the Attitude Era, but it's at its most extreme now, where corporations just took over the whole fucking business. So when that happens, you got shysters that get in at every level.
Sure.
And then I think this because,
But I mean,
and you
that's
can
always
speak to
been
this
there.
too.
That's always been there. We know the stories of an Ike Shaw in
Yeah.
Ontario. You
Yeah.
know what I
It's
mean?
always been a thing.
It's always been a thing, and I mean it's going to continue to be a
But
thing until something is done about it. The unfortunate thing is I almost have to feel like I need to fucking apologize at
I
some
know.
point because
But let
I'm
me
the guy
step this.
responsible in a way
Yes.
for there not being a commission to oversee this thing.
And I was just about to say, so when I first got in, I had to apply for a license. Okay. But by the time I had even got approval, it was thrown out because the athletic commission had just got thrown out. And you had the commission thrown out, which means that, 18 years old wasn't the mandatory age to train anymore, which means there was no age. It's just a parent's consent thing. And that's messed up. I've never, I had to wait. I was more beat up from wrestling around with my friends, waiting to be able to train legally, right? And I knew
Mhm.
some guys that were 16 and their parents would come with them to training. That was
Sure.
a little like some places let that happen. The athletic commission let that happen. But realistically, you had to, at that point, once the athletic commission was thrown out, there was no licenses needed. You could do whatever the fuck you wanted. So why did you get that thrown out? Like, I know there was good and bad. The athletic commission was robbing people. They were
Well,
scamming.
that's exactly what it was. What it really came down to is that
It was
whatever your
Ken, right?
intentions are,
He's dead now. Can we say his name?
yeah,
Yeah,
whatever your intentions are superseded by greed.
I think he's dead. I don't know.
Right? I don't know if he is, but
He probably not.
that's two commissions removed for here in Ontario. Things are way different. The stuff that the commission does with combat sports here in Ontario is absolutely fantastic now. It has
Yeah.
grown. The people in charge of it, shout out to all of them. They do a great job. But at the time, in the day, as soon as you have, like I said, your best intentions are superseded by your greed. And that's exactly what we see, what it was with the commission. They were greedy. They were just taking money for the sake of taking money and doing nothing in return. So therefore, it came to be their downfall. What's happening now with a lot of these schools is the same exact thing, in my opinion. You know better and you know the smart things, because in this instance, if this happened, I can see exactly how this happens. I come from the time when, you work through an injury. Are you a little hurt or are you actually injured? Well, if you're hurt, you just work through it. And you're not going to say that you're actually injured if it's a brain thing, if you've got your brain scrambled, because it's never happened to you before and you don't know the difference. And you don't want to look like a puss because you've been told from time and time again, pro wrestling, oh, that's where the tough boys play. That's where the tough girls play. Right. So you're going to do what you can and you're going to try to impress your coach, because especially in this instance, where it also is trying to impress your teacher that you just got, hustled into taking part in this thing, because they're making it believe that this could probably help you in your acting career. Well, that's actually what you went for. You didn't sign up to become a professional wrestler. You signed up to a college course to become an actor and learn how to do that stuff. And they said, hey, it'd be really cool. Physical activity, to get into the field of where you do absolutely zero physical activity. Everything is a work in professional wrestling, but everything is even more of a work in acting. So if you got hoodwinked into going and doing the professional wrestling part of it, it's because somebody's greedy and they saw an opportunity and said, hey, we can make money off of this. And in doing so, you put people's lives at risk by trying to make money off of them without giving them the safety procedures that they need or the out that they need. And that's where all of this goes wrong. And that's where a situation like this happened. And if you don't put an end to this now, it's going to happen again, or it's going to happen a lot more frequently. If you think that this is just the one story where this has happened, no, it's happened many, many times. And idiots like this should never have been teaching people how to professional wrestle in the first place. Hell, I'm barely qualified to do it. And some people say that I should still be doing it, but I'm not going to be doing it, because I can't take the chance of today's society and today's kids out there having something like this happen to me on my watch, because I'm not built for today's society and doing this inside of the schools. There's no way. Hell, I'm sorry. Al Snow is not built to be teaching professional wrestling in today's day and age. There is a new breed of teachers. There is a whole new breed of people that are teaching people how to wrestle and stuff like that. You want to talk about it? Go talk to Adrian Butler, head referee for NXT. That's a guy who you should be talking to about who should be teaching people in this day and age, because he's part of today's society.
Well, look, I guess at the
Am I
last chunk
wrong?
of that. No, the last chunk is a bit confusing for me because I
Okay.
think I think you're, like, I don't know if this would have happened on your watch. So I
No,
know that you're
no, it
saying
wouldn't.
that
It wouldn't, because, and I can tell you why it wouldn't, because
I can almost be positive that you would have vetted and not trained somebody.
100%.
It doesn't even, and that's okay. So head injuries are a thing. We know people that have had them and they've led to some really bad shit. Some of them aren't here anymore. Some of them are here, but they're
Listen,
not here
listen, hold on
anymore.
1 second, Bray. I'll give you an instance. I'll give you an instance right now. There's a referee in Ontario who works in the system right now. Okay, his name's Derek Hamill. The refs over at works for Neo, works for Rock Solid, works for a number of promotions. He
Yeah.
didn't want to be a referee when he first started training with me at Crossbody with myself and Ben Ortmans. He wanted to be a wrestler. And while training, doing typical international drill, okay? Everybody knows what the international is, right?
Yeah.
Shoulder tackle, drop down, leapfrog.
Tackle, drop down, leapfrog, hip toss.
As soon as he
Or
does the
usually
leapfrog,
hip
he
toss,
comes down weird on the
tracks
leapfrog,
business.
ends up breaking his knee.
Yeah.
That puts him out, and he has to have these surgeries and stuff like that. But he loves the business, and he's like, I still want to be involved in the business, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, well, you're not going to be able to do what you're doing now. You got to work into it. But to get him back working into it, that's when he became a very, very, very good and very competent referee. But injuries like that do happen. You have to be able to make sure that you assess them appropriately. It wasn't like, and when he had it happen, he didn't think that he had broke anything or anything like that. And I've had people get injured and get hurt during training, right? But it's never been, if you land on your brains, keep going. That's the word. If you twist your ankle, let's try to work through it. If you pull a hamstring, if you hurt your calf, if you do something muscular, let's try to get through this. Let's do the proper things and let's let you sit. Let's get you some massage. Let's get you some therapy. Let's do this. But if there's anything that involves any kind of spinal, any kind of head, anything like that, you're out. You're out.
And
you go sit and you go get it checked out, and you're not back in there until I feel you can pass certain protocols and the doctor tells me that you can do it.
yeah, I didn't know for 6 months. My arms started going dead. And then I was like, am I having heart attacks? I started getting like really weird feelings in my left arm. So that's what I went and basically went to the doctor and was like, okay, I must be having mini heart attacks. Like, why are my arms going numb? Especially after I'm done reffing like 3 or 4 matches in a night. Like, that's usually when it was happening. And then I found out, like I said, I had cracked one disc and broke another, chipped another. So I was like, oh, okay. But if I had known that day, you guys around me would have been like, yo, motherfucker, I don't care how long you've been in the business. You got to heal, right? And I think I had pretty much wrapped up my reffing career after I'd found that out within a couple months. Like, I took it really easy, didn't take any more bumps, and was like, okay, if I'm going to be involved in the business, I'll do it from a production standpoint or from, a million and one other jobs that I can do if I want to be around it. And then what had happened is in about the late 2017, 2018, I watched the business slowly start changing. I watched the locker room change. The locker room I'd always change. The locker room never stops evolving. I feel like that's a 5-year, almost like you get eras, or almost like Gen Zs and Gen X's. Like, wrestling's got its own thing. Every 5 years, the locker room kind of changes, but you see the same old crew that kind of sits in the corners that have been there forever, right? Us dusty old bastards. And I started seeing less and less of that because some of the guys are getting older, but some of the guys just weren't involved in the business anymore. And these guys that were lifers, and I ended up becoming one of those guys where I just wasn't involved anymore. I was kind of getting ashamed of the business again. I was looking at it like, man, we know so much about head injuries now that I'm at this age and I'm going to be in my 40s. I don't know if I can keep doing this.
Well, here's the thing, and here's
because I don't want to encourage this kind of fucking shit.
100%. And we're going to wrap this up, and I want to wrap this up with this kind of a statement. If I am looking to recruit somebody to do something physical, I'm going to go to somebody who does stuff physical. There's a reason that they go and recruit people from NXT in the fields that they recruit them from. Athletes, football players, cheerleaders, gymnasts, people that already have some kind of an athletic background. I don't try to recruit people that want to be actors. I don't try to recruit people that don't want to do some kind of physical activity. This is where the problem lies. In this day and age, you can't have people that are incompetent trying to skew that line of what you should be teaching still in professional wrestling and who you should be teaching it to. I think that there absolutely, in some way, shape, or form, needs to be some kind of regulations put into place before you're able to open up any kind of training facility, before you're even able to be a promoter. Let's start bringing back some kind of licenses. I'm not saying that there needs to be a commission, but I'm saying that there needs to be somebody, something, some kind of organization that needs to oversee this kind of stuff, not just on a local level, but on a national level, because all of those local levels, this happens. I'd like to hear from any of you about incidences, that you just didn't hear about. Leave them in the comments. Let us know. Send us links. Send us news links. It's not like we're trying to find bad things, but I like to know how deep, how far this actually lies all over not just Canada, not just North America, all over the world. Right? Any final words, Bradie?
Yeah, like I said, I if you want to read the article on this poor gal, Alexis Leduc Mitchell, check out baytoday.ca, and it was written on January 12th, 2026, by Jenny Lamouth.
Well, there you go. And I mean, it kind of goes without saying, that the tagline that we have for this show and for every show that we do here on What's a Work and the Law Live Audio Wrestling and the Wayans Brothers and Good Times and the Bees of Boxing and all of them, and my own personal kick in the head and Brady's Recrap-A-Rama, all of them. The one tagline that we say at the end of it holds true more than ever, especially in situations like this. No matter what happens, ladies and gentlemen, you always got to remember to tuck your chin.